One of the most exciting parts about the Star Wars universe is its space battles, with the battles of Endor, Yavin, and Coruscant being among the most memorable moments of the original and prequel trilogies. But there's a whole other world to explore, and the expanded universe, and specifically the Legends canon, has featured numerous battles which surpass those of the movies. So today we're counting down the top 5 space battles from Legends canon. In ranking these battles, we're focusing specifically on the size of the fleets that were engaged. To keep things interesting, any battle that appeared in a Star Wars movie or television show is excluded. Now without further ado, here's the list. Number 5 on the list is the Battle of Coruscant from the Great Hyperspace War. The Great Hyperspace War occurred 5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin and was between the Galactic Republic of the time and the Sith Empire. The war started after Sith Lord Naga Sato invaded several galactic worlds simultaneously. One of these worlds was Coruscant, which, as it has been throughout the majority of galactic history, was the capital of the Republic at the time. Being that this was 5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, the technology used here was different than we'd see in later Star Wars engagements. Interestingly, this was also when capital ships were starting to see their first use. The fleet which attacked Coruscant numbered in the tens of thousands and heavily featured the Daraphin-class battleship. The Daraphin class, although unshielded, overmatched its Republic counterparts. During the battle, Sith Lord Naga Sato remained in his meditation sphere, using battle meditation as well as Sith magic to visually exaggerate the size of his invading army. The Sith fleet also employed war behemoths, which are essentially large elephants, to attack Coruscant on the ground. The combined efforts of the Jedi and the Galactic Republic were enough to hold off the Sith army on the ground. And eventually Naga Sato's meditation sphere was damaged, which caused the illusioned part of the Sith fleet to disappear. This instantaneous decline in Sith forces was a huge morale boost to the Republic, and they eventually repelled Sith forces in ground and space. After the conflict, the Jedi were given a large plot of land, which would eventually become the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Sato's invasion would eventually fail, causing him to flee to Yavin 4 in exile. Number 4 is the Battle of Orinda. This one is interesting less because of the number of forces and more because of the sheer firepower that was involved. 12 years after Yavin and 8 years after Endor, the galaxy was involved in another galactic civil war. This time, the still newly formed New Republic combated the remnants of the Empire. The Imperial forces, as led by Fleet Admiral Pelion, had successfully captured several New Republic planets. Notably, the fleet possessed an Executor-class Super Star Destroyer named the Reaper. In response to the Imperial aggression, the New Republic planned a counterattack at one of the captured planets, Orinda. As a note, the New Republic at the time possessed their own Executor-class Super Star Destroyer, the Lusankia, which had been surrendered during the Bacta War. General Wedge Antilles, in command of the Lusanka, a fleet carrier, a Nebulon-class cruiser, a Mon Calamari star cruiser, and several X-Wing squadrons, was given the task of recapturing the planet. Although the New Republic initially had an edge in the battle, the Imperial forces were soon backed up by 6 immobilizer cruisers and a Star Dreadnought. It's unclear exactly what a Star Dreadnought is, but the term has been used to refer to several classes of Super Star Destroyers. At this point, the New Republic forces were severely outmatched, and they took heavy losses, including the destruction of the Endurance. They were also prevented from escaping by the immobilizer cruisers, which projected a large artificial gravity well, preventing hyperspace jumps. Fortunately for the New Republic, the Lusankia and her fighters were able to destroy one of the immobilizers and escape. The New Republic would make no further attempts to recover the planet. Number 3 on our list is the Second Battle of Fondor. This engagement occurred 41 years after the Battle of Yavin and was part of the Second Galactic Civil War. The Second Galactic Civil War is messy, complicated, and hard to explain, but essentially Jacen Solo, son of Han and Leia, turned to the dark side and became Darth Caedus. Jacen initiated a military coup against the Galactic Alliance and became its leader. He used authoritarian tactics which led to the creation of several rebel groups. In preparation for the battle, the Galactic Alliance, led by Jacen Solo, contacted the Imperial Remnant and asked for their help. This is the same Imperial Remnant as led by Admiral Pelion as we discussed in the previous battle. The Remnant agreed, and with that, the Galactic Alliance attacked Fondor. The Galactic Alliance dedicated half of its entire fleet. This included over 15 Star Destroyers, including the Anakin Solo, as well as several Viscount-class Star Dreadnoughts, which are over 17 kilometers in length and comparable to a Super Star Destroyer. The Imperial Remnant supported the Galactic Alliance by fielding over 20 Star Destroyers. The Fondorian Defense Fleet attempted to stave off the attack, but were eventually overwhelmed. This led to the Galactic Alliance bombarding the planet from orbit, causing serious damage and destroying major cities. An admiral for the Galactic Alliance offered the Fondorians the chance to surrender. The Fondorians accepted and surrendered. However, Jacen Solo, who hadn't previously been informed of the surrender, did not accept it and ordered his fleet to keep attacking. The admiral relieved him of his command for disobeying an order and violating the rules of war, and ordered the warships to attack him. However, unexpected to her, 2/3 of the fleet remained loyal to Solo. The Imperial fleet was also split, with some respecting the ceasefire and some continuing to attack. The Galactic Alliance's fleet and the Imperial Remnant were now in total disarray and attacking each other. At this point, two new belligerents entered the fray. The Mandalorians, as commanded by Boba Fett and working with the Jedi Coalition, stole Admiral Pelion's flagship. The Maw Irregular Fleet, which was formed mainly out of decommissioned vessels, including Victory and Venator-class Star Destroyers, also appeared and supported the Remnant in their attack against Jacen Solo. In the end, Jacen Solo and the rest of his fleet would flee to Coruscant, while Luke Skywalker and the President of Fondor would work together to create a united front against the Galactic Alliance. The second largest space battle of all time is the Battle for the Eclipse. The Battle for the Eclipse happened 4 years after the Battle of Yavin in the aftermath of the destruction of the second Death Star. The Eclipse was a type of super star destroyer that was operated by the Empire during the Galactic Civil War. It was essentially an even more beefed up version of a super star destroyer with the Death Star's super laser attached to the front. Towards the end of the Galactic Civil War, it was nearing completion at the Quat shipyards. Following the Battle of Endor, a large portion of the Imperial fleet returned to Quat to protect the Eclipse. This included an Executor-class super star destroyer, many Imperial and Victory-class star destroyers, several Immobilizer or Interdictor-class ships, Acclamator-class assault ships, and the Eclipse star destroyer itself. The rebels amassed a fleet of 4 MC-80 Liberty Star Cruisers, 2 Mark II assault frigates, 2 Nebulon B frigates, and other smaller ships, including the Millennium Falcon and other snub fighters. These forces were later supplemented by rebel reinforcements. The rebels also obtained the help of the Zahn Consortium, who fielded several star destroyers and other battleships. The Rebel and Zahn coalition successfully destroyed several space stations guarding the Eclipse and moved on to destroy the ship itself. However, unknown to the rebels, Zahn infiltrators actually managed to capture the Eclipse, and the Zahn Consortium turned on the Alliance. The Zahn forces turned on the rebels and started attacking with the Eclipse's super laser. At this point, the Imperial forces also arrived and a giant skirmish ensued. Most of the rebel forces, with the exception of the Millennium Falcon, were destroyed, and the Eclipse managed to destroy the other super star destroyer along with the rest of the Imperial forces. In the end, there was massive destruction inflicted on all 3 sides, but the Consortium emerged victorious with the Eclipse super star destroyer. The Eclipse was eventually abandoned by Zahn and captured by the newly formed New Republic. It's now time for the #1 largest battle of all time, and I really thought this was a pretty easy one. The Battle of Yuuzhan Tarr, also known as the recapture of Coruscant or the Second Battle of Coruscant, was the final battle of the Yuuzhan Vong War. The Yuuzhan Vong War basically started when the Yuuzhan Vong, an extragalactic species, invaded the galaxy. In this final battle, all galactic forces, regardless of prior or later affiliations, came together to battle the Yuuzhan Vong. After a successful defense of Mon Calamari, the combined fleets of the Galactic Alliance, the New Jedi Order, the Imperial Remnant, the Chiss Ascendancy, the Hapes Consortium, the Shamed Ones, and the Smugglers Alliance turned and directed their efforts towards Coruscant, which had been terraformed by the Yuuzhan Vong and was now known as Yuuzhan Tarr. Can't be sure how many ships in total the Galactic team fielded, but we do know that hundreds of capital ships and millions of lives were lost in the battle. Presumably the ship number was in the tens of thousands, with each faction fielding multiple dreadnoughts. There were also tens of thousands of individual fighters, and Rogue Squadron, Wraith Squadron, and Twin Squadron participated in the offensive. In the end, the battle was won not in space but on the ground, and the supreme leader of the Yuuzhan Vong was killed in hand-to-hand combat. This led to all Yuuzhan Vong forces either committing suicide or surrendering to the combined forces of the Republic, the Empire, and the Jedi Order. This battle marked the end of the 4-year Yuuzhan Vong War, a war which devastated hundreds of planets, wiped out entire species, and killed over 365 trillion individuals. Anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this list, in my opinion, of the top 5 largest space battles in Star Wars history. There were hundreds and hundreds of other battles I could have chosen, so if you disagree with me, feel free to post in the comments. Other than the #1 spot, I really think every part of this list could be argued, so I'd love to hear what you think. If you liked this video, please drop a like and subscribe for more. Also, check out my Star Wars news, discussion, and leaks playlist. This is Eckhart's Ladder, signing off. I'll talk to you guys later.